The radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this Sunday, March 8th. It is, what is it, the 9th day of the war, something like that. And we have got you covered in terms of updates here on the Yaron Brook Show. All right, so basically everything is continuing. The United States continues to bomb targets in Iran. Israel has now got split focus. It is in targeting bombings both in Iran and in Lebanon. It is pretty amazing. Again, it's hard to fully appreciate the logistics and just the capabilities that Israel has to be able to wage. They struck 100 different targets today inside Lebanon, and then they strike hundreds of targets in Iran, which is thousands of kilometers away distance from Israel. Truly impressive what Israel is actually doing. The United States continues to bolster its offensive resources as I kind of predicted. I think the USS Ford, which, if you remember, had originally arrived in the Eastern Mediterranean and was primarily focused on a defensive posture vis-a-vis Israel. I think it turns out it wasn't really needed, and it seems like it seems like more than what was needed to have the largest, most powerful aircraft carrier in the world sitting there just doing, defense and shooting down ballistic missiles. Also, I think with the closing of the Hormuz Straits, it seems that it could be better used in the actual offensive theater in the Gulf of Arabia and ultimately in the Persian Gulf. And so over the last few days, the USS Ford has traveled through the Suez Canal into the Red Sea and now into the Sea of Arabia, that is basically the sea south of Saudi Arabia or Yemen, and into the combat zone. This is where Americans are launching offensive operations. That brings in almost 200 additional airplanes available to CENTCOM in terms of attacking Iran. It also brings in all the various, battleships, frigates, I don't know what you call all the ships that travel with an aircraft carrier. They're like, a dozen of them or something. They travel with it, and they will be in the theater to knock down missiles, drones, and to launch U.S. cruise and ballistic missiles. So the United States has bolstered its offensive capability with the USS Ford now in the kind of combat region and playing offense, not defense. There still continues to be, if you follow kind of the news and what the Sunday shows and what's on Twitter and everywhere else, a overriding pessimism about this war, the idea that it's now winnable, the regime change is impossible, that you can't hit the bunkers deep underneath, so the ballistic missiles will always be there and the Iranians could just excavate them out afterwards. There is pessimism about the ability to find the uranium, the enriched uranium that the Iranians have that might be buried under the rubble where the United States attacked last time, or it might not be buried under the rubble. Nobody is confirming one way or the other. I don't have any special intelligence in terms of where the uranium is, but it's somewhere in Iran. And, Israeli intelligence probably knows where, and it's probably buried somewhere deep so they can't just bomb it out of existence. And now the question is, what do you do with that? So there's all that pessimism about that. Generally, as I said, regime change, pessimism. I keep reading these stories. The U.S. and Israel attacks are going really well, but are they winning? Are they winning the war? Could Iran actually be winning this? I guess for Iran to win this, the regime would have to stay intact and continue to develop nuclear weapons, ballistic missiles, and oppress its own people without and continue to support Hezbollah and the Houthis. Now, it might actually be that by the time this war is over, there's nobody in Hezbollah to support. That is possible. Israel is just eviscerating Hezbollah left and right. It's attacking them everywhere and constantly in the south, in Beirut itself, all over the place. Indeed, and Hezbollah is taking significant casualties. One of the attacks Israel did today, I think this is right, was one second. Yes, it was a bombing of a hotel room. So they threaded a missile into a hotel room, a big block of hotels. All the windows look the same. They threaded into a particular room. It imploded there and managed to kill 5 senior commanders in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Quds forces that were in Lebanon. They are the liaison between Iran and Hezbollah. They killed 5 of them. So they killed the guy responsible for transferring funds to regime proxies in Lebanon to finance Hezbollah and other kind of regime proxies in Lebanon. They killed the head of the intelligence branch of the Quds Force Lebanon Corps. So this would be the guy providing intelligence, arrived or derived from Iran to Hezbollah directly. They killed an intelligence officer in the Quds Force of the Palestinian Corps, so he would be a liaison with Hamas and providing them with intelligence. And they killed 2 other people. So they managed to thread it and kill 5 people in a hotel room in Lebanon, thus depleting the Quds Corps. This is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. But the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's coordination with Hezbollah. So it's not clear that by the end of this war, there's anybody in Hezbollah to coordinate with. And it's not clear who's doing the coordinating, given that Israel is just decimating them slowly and systematically. Destroying them. Israel has now ground troops in South Lebanon, where it is occupying land, and it might send more troops into South Lebanon. Israel should. I guess nobody asks me, but if I were in charge, Israel should basically take South Lebanon, all of it. It should go to the Litani River. I've talked about this, for years now, certainly since October 7th. Israel should go to the Litani River, should occupy the entire territory, and then, over time, systematically destroy Hezbollah's infrastructure that over decades and decades, Hezbollah has built up in southern Lebanon, so that even if Hezbollah returns, they'd have to start from scratch. So Israel should do that. Whether they do it or not, it's hard to tell. But they have entered South Lebanon in small units, in small locations, but they haven't gone all in. Israel's already taken casualties in South Lebanon. It's a very difficult war. You're fighting against, terrorists to jump up behind a rock and fire at you. And rockets are raining in on you, and you can shoot many of them down, but some are going to get through. And one of the reasons Israel is hesitant to take all of southern Lebanon is a fear of taking significant casualties in the process. What else in Lebanon? Again, the government seems on board with the dismantling of Hezbollah, but it's not doing anything about it, and partially it's a sign of the weakness of the Lebanese military. They're really waiting for Israel to do the work for them. Given that stance, I don't think they should be surprised if Israel lands up basically taking southern Lebanon, at least as a buffer zone, and making it demilitarized, and insisting on demilitarization and using force in order to secure demilitarization, And the Lebanese army can be north of Litani, and it can try to make sure Hezbollah doesn't make it down south. That is what I would do. Yep. I mean, Hezbollah now is functioning as a guerrilla force that shoots and runs and hides behind rocks. We will see, how this is going to be. It's going to be a difficult operation to dismantle them on the ground. It's one thing to do from the air. It's very difficult to do it from the ground. All right. What else? What else can we say? The estimates right now are that Iran has about 120 missile launches left. That's a dramatic reduction from its pre-war supply, and they're limited in how many of these missiles they can launch. We talked about this yesterday. The number of launches are low again today, although slightly higher than yesterday. So they slightly higher, but still way lower than the first few days of the war. Certainly the first day of the war. They are, they just don't have the capacity to build them, and to the extent that there are factories that can build them, Israel and the United States are attacking those factories and making them inoperable, right? So there was a slight uptick of missile fire, primarily at the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and the missiles are still a threat, but they're a reduced threat, relative to what people expected before the war, an insignificant threat. I will note that there were rumors earlier today. Israel actually announced that the United Arab Emirates had actually attacked Iran and blown up a desalination plant. The United Arab Emirates, a couple of hours later, came out and denied this, and was very vigorous about the denial, so I think they're probably right. And, said that they're not excluding the possibility of attacking, but they're not going to attack civilian infrastructure. They will attack only military infrastructure. And my guess is, since Israel and the U.S. have all the targets already lined up, the UAE doesn't feel the need to get involved and to integrate their forces into the Israeli and in America. And the same with the Saudis. I mean, all of these people are threatened to use force, but have not yet used any force. As of now, the U.S. forces have sunk or damaged about 43 Iranian naval vessels. That was up from 31 vessels 2 days ago. So they continue to decimate the Iranian Navy. I mean, by this point, there really isn't any Navy. It's smaller ships that they're striking, including commercial vessels that might be used by the military, and maybe smaller vessels that they would use in order to block the Hormuz Straits. Hard to tell what is actually going on in Tehran. So in terms of the regime itself, today a member of the Assembly of Experts, Hojatul Islam Dirbaz, who is a hardliner in the Assembly of Experts. Today he was on TV, I guess, or some media, basically saying that the next supreme leader has already been chosen. That the person has been chosen, and they know who it is, but they've chosen not to announce it for security reasons. They don't want him dead before he's even sworn in or whatever. But the council members reached an agreement without actually meeting in person, I guess, because Israel keeps threatening, if they meet in person, to blow the place up. And rumors continue about Israel blowing up potential meeting places for the experts. But they have chosen. There is a chosen one. There is a chosen supreme leader. By all accounts, it seems to be the son of Khamenei. The son of Khamenei is even more hardline than his father, everybody says. He's also very much aligned with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. So it is it's very challenging in terms of regime change because there's so many options and they keep getting another layer and they keep elevating people. Now Israel at the same time takes them out, right? So yesterday they took out the military advisor to the supreme leader, who is the replacement of the guy who got killed with Khamenei when he was bombed. A new one was appointed, and he was killed yesterday. So Israel keeps going after regime leaders. Some of it we know about, some of it we probably don't know about, some of it the Iranians have acknowledged, some of it the Iranians have not acknowledged, but it continues. That is, the evisceration of the Iranian leadership continues, and yet they have, if you will, a deep bench. Right, again, everybody, okay, other news. I mean, again, this is coming from Israel. Just hit that one of the problems that they actually haven't chosen a supreme leader yet, and part of the problem is that Khamenei supposedly in his will wrote not to select his son. Again, and yet I think that's the preference of many of the people. Plus, it's definitely the preference of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. So they haven't yet chosen anybody, and that there are real cracks starting to appear, according to this story, in the leadership, in the Iranian leadership. And it appears that the general of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has basically taken on himself to run the operation right now, not listening to the political leadership and just running it as from the military perspective. So again, lots of conflict, as you'd expect, among the leadership in Iran because they're an authoritarian regime with nothing really that brings them together, and conflicting, power struggles. And anybody becomes supreme leader, Israel's going to target immediately and try to assassinate. And Israel has proven that they have amazing intelligence about where all these people live and where they hang out and where they meet. And they're afraid. My guess is they're afraid. There are lots of these little short videos being produced by Israelis and Arabs of, the guy being sworn in as next supreme leader, and a bomb goes off and he's annihilated. And the next guy comes in, he's a little bit more hesitant. So he's sworn in, and boom, he's eliminated. And the next guy, now he's really hesitant. He really doesn't want it. He's trying to run away, but they force him to swear in, and he's eliminated. And this progression. So that is happening. So, I mean, the regime is, as I think, struggling. Now, remember, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the main military force in Iran, is a military force primarily focused on internal security. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard was not built to invade other countries. It was not built to defend against invasion. That is the army. It was built to support Hezbollah and Houthis. It was built to support the Syrian regime and the Iraqi Shiite militant terrorist groups. And it was built to secure the Islamic Revolution. It was not built as an army. And it is going to do anything that it can, everything that it can, to secure the regime, nothing more. And they will be ready and armed if protesters go into the streets to shoot them. All right, what else? Yesterday, during the show, somebody said, Israel just hit the refineries. No, because I'd said the refineries. That makes sense. Hit the refineries. But no, they didn't. They haven't yet. Nobody's hit the refineries yet. What Israel did hit were basically the oil storage facilities around Tehran. Massive storage facilities that supply oil to all of Tehran. So this is where Tehran gets the oil for the gas stations and for the trucks and everything else. And I don't know if you saw the videos of these things burning. Oh my God, it really looked like Armageddon. And then what happened was the oil leaked into the streets and it was burning oil. So you had these fires in the gutters along the roads, and it really did look like Tehran was burning. It was very, very dramatic. But Israel did destroy these facilities. Now, these facilities are run by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They generate revenue by selling oil to Iranians. So this will deplete the ability to generate revenue that way. Ultimately, to stop Iranians from producing oil and being able to drive and use oil throughout the country, Israel, the United States are going to have to take out the refineries. There are like 10 of them. It's not that hard to take them out, right? I mean, a few bombs in each one of them and they're gone. Given the number of bombs that are being dropped, it would be nothing. They're leaving this strategically, maybe to try to force the regime's hand by threatening it. Maybe they want to see if they can, destroy all the missiles and everything else and tilt the regime and try to get the regime to fall without, in a sense, making the lives of the civilians really, really hard and using this only at the end. I say the sooner the better. If you're really going for a regime change, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. All right, again, conflicting information about whether they've chosen a replacement, but it's good that there's conflicting information. It really does seem like there are cracks and there's disagreement and there are challenges and there is a lot of fear among the Iranians right now about what is happening, about their future is, about what they can do. Fear is a good thing for those of us who want to see this regime fall and be destroyed completely. One of the guys who needs to be, I think, killed and eliminated is this Ali Larijani, who is basically right now head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. This is the council of three that is running things, supposedly him and the president and one of our Ayatollahs. But the reality is that the president is meaningless. You remember, he's the guy who came out, was it yesterday, and basically apologized to the Gulf states for being attacked and said it wouldn't happen again. And then everybody said, no, of course we're going to attack the Gulf states. Forget about it. He's irrelevant. So he is irrelevant. It's not clear how relevant Ali Larijani is, but he's presenting himself as basically the leader of Iran in the absence of a supreme leader. It would be good if the Supreme National Council, the three people on there, were assassinated. That would be another step in eviscerating the leadership and creating that uncertainty and real fear among the leadership ranks. Let me just see. Now, these, I'm just reading these facilities, these oil tanks that were blown up yesterday in one of the most, you really need to see the videos of this. They were actually connected directly to the Tehran refinery, but the refinery itself was not attacked. Again, that would be the next step. I think that is a more permanent denial of fuel to the Iranians, and that's why the Israelis and the Americans are hesitating to hit it. Tehran has 13 to 15 million people living in it, and their oil supply is just being eviscerated. Now, a lot of them left the city, but it's both symbolic but meaningful in terms of the quality of life and the standard of living that they are going to have. There are also tanks. Israel also attacked a number of tanks. It was more than one facility where the oil was being hit. All right, a couple of stories that, again, hard to tell if they are, if this is real or not, and how real it will become. There are stories about the United States and Israel discussing two potential boots on the ground special forces operations in Iran at some point. The first one relates to what I said earlier about the nuclear fuel. Iran has a significant amounts of uranium. I think that has been refined to, 60%. It could be easily, if they had the centrifuges and they had the facilities, become weapons grade. This was the basis for what somebody was saying before the war started, that they could have 11 bombs in 2 weeks, which I don't know how credible that is. But that uranium is somewhere. It's somewhere in Iran. And one of the stories coming out is the possibility of a joint Israeli-U.S. special operation that would basically go in after they had eviscerated the Iranian military, so there was no real threat on the ground to them. They would probably take along with them some scientists who specialize in atomic weapons, maybe people from the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they would go and find it. So maybe they have intelligence about where it is approximately. It might mean going underground. It might mean more than hours of operation. It might mean a significant operation. They would have to protect the perimeter. Now, again, they have control of the air, which makes that a lot easier. Any columns of troops coming towards them could be eviscerated by with aircraft. But again, this wouldn't be a simple operation. It would be complicated. It would be ambitious. But this is something that I think makes a lot of sense. Ultimately has to be done one way or another. I think this operation counts as a failure if the uranium is not accounted for. Either the Iranians have surrendered and willing to hand the uranium over as part of a ceasefire peace deal, or Americans, Israelis have basically found it and transported it out of there. So will be interesting to see how that one develops. The second special ops, special ops that people are talking about, is an operation to basically take the Karg Island. You remember I talked about the Karg Island. I've talked about it in the past. I've talked about it now. This is like that where 90% of all crude, Iranian crude oil is shipped out of. It is an island off the coast of Iran inside the Persian Gulf. It has storage facilities of oil, pipelines bringing it in from the mainland, and then facilities to load up tankers that can then traverse the Straits of Hormuz and take that oil to China, primarily to China. That's where the Iranian oil goes. 90% of all the crude that Iran ships out goes through this island. Well, a real option, and I think this is a good option, and I think this is something that should be done, is to put ground troops on the island and to take it, to occupy it, and basically tell the Iranians, you want it back? Surrender, open the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, you could decide what demands you could make. But it is unbelievably strategic. It's also somewhere that it's unlikely the Iranians fight back by dropping ballistic missiles on the island, because these are all facilities that they have that they don't want to have to rebuild. I don't think it would take much of an American force to take the island, particularly given American air superiority. And you could, with the American Navy so close, my assumption is you could get helicopters there. You could get, ground troops into the island. You could get special forces, and you could take the island. And maybe you would use Israeli forces to help. I doubt it. I think this would be an America-only operation. given that it's oil. This is also Donald Trump's favorite commodity. So he would love to be able to control Iranian oil. This would give him basically control of all Iranian exports. During the war and after the war, as long as he had troops there, he would control it. So this makes a lot of sense. Again, this is one island, relatively small. It exports between 1.5 to 4 million barrels of oil a day. A day. That is a huge quantity, right? Let's see what happens. But this is a juicy target that makes a lot of sense and can be used to. It fits Trump's profile, and it can be used as a bargaining chip with the Iranians. You decapitate, and then you decapitate. You make the missiles. You make it impossible for the Iranians really to retaliate in any meaningful way, and then you take their oil resources. And of course, this is all helped and aided by the fact that the United States has basically destroyed the Iranian Navy. There is no Iranian Navy. So how do they get troops onto the island? It's almost impossible for them, particularly given, as we said, that the United States controls the airspace. So there you have it. One more, maybe a couple more things. I wanted to say something about the fact that we talked about yesterday about the Kurds, and the Kurds maybe not doing what Trump wants them to do because he's betrayed them in the past. Well, now Trump has come out and said, I don't want the Kurds going into Iran. And everybody's going, I wonder why he changed his mind. What happened? And I think it's pretty clear what changed his mind. Probably a message from Erdogan. The Turks don't want the Kurds to get involved in Iran. He doesn't want an autonomous state in Iran, a Kurd autonomous state in Iran. He doesn't want the Kurds to get combat experience. He doesn't want the Kurds fighting. He wants the Kurds subdued. And I'm sure he is putting a lot of pressure on Trump not to use the Kurds. So the likelihood of the Kurds being used to take over the regime and to undermine it, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on a lot of this stuff. I hope I'm wrong. But it seems to me pretty unlikely, given the Kurds' history with Trump, a history of betrayal, and the fact that Erdogan, who Trump listens to because he's an authoritarian, Trump likes authoritarians, will fight against this. We'll fight against this. So, the island, I think, is what you want to take. And again, all of this also relates to China and the fact that China has a deep interest in the Straits of Hormuz opening up, and China wants the oil flow. It wants its oil back. And if America is controlling that oil, that is a problem for China. As I've said many, many times, it makes a Chinese attack on Thailand, God, they're not going to attack Thailand, on Taiwan, a lot less likely if the United States basically controls their entire oil supply. Iran, Venezuela, all they have is Russian oil. Not enough. It's not enough for the Chinese. So the Chinese are in deep trouble if the United States can actually pull this off in Iran and win this. All right. Oh, I've got numbers of our missile launches. Day 9 was up from day 8, from 15 missiles to 21. That's still the second lowest since the beginning of the war, and way down from the 350 in day 1. Drones significantly uptick. Huge uptick on the drones, 134 up from 12. 134 brings it closer to the quantities in the first few days. Those are still more than double the 134. So Iran still has missiles. It just doesn't have a lot of launches, and it's harder for them to get to the missiles. But Iran definitely still has drones, and the Israelis and the Americans need to figure out how to destroy more and more of those drones, and need to, again, the drones are primarily a risk for the Gulf states, less so for Israel, and less so, I think, for the Americans operating off the coast. Let's see. It really does seem like, well, let's skip that. Let's do, that is fine. That is fine. That is fine. All right. What else? What did I miss in terms of Iran today? I think we've captured everything. We will see. All right, here's another story. Again, this gives you the sense of what is probably happening behind the scenes in Iran. We're just getting a small glimmer of it. This is a source in Iran. Has told Iran Wire that Iran's de facto security chief, Ali Laranjani, I talked about him a minute ago, is opposed to Khamenei's son becoming the leader. Laranjani supports his brother, Laranjani's brother, Sadiq Laranjani, a high-ranking cleric in the fight for leadership. So you see, it's an authoritarianism. It's a dictatorship. Everybody is struggling for their own, relatives, or why they want their own relatives to be killed by the Israelis, I'm not sure. But somebody describes it as a true Game of Thrones moment inside the regime. But again, we don't know exactly what's going on. These are rumors coming out. Hard to tell exactly what is driving any of this, and we will see. Let's see. All right, that's not new. I mean, this is interesting. If true, we will see if this is true. Qatar has reportedly told the Trump administration that they will expel the Hamas leadership from the country, finally, after they refused to condemn the Iranian attacks on Qatar. There was a video of the Hamas representatives basically saying, look, we stand with anybody who opposes Israel. The Iranians oppose Israel, we stand with the Iranians. And they're saying it from Qatar as Qatar is taking in incoming missiles from the Iranians. So Qatar are not happy with Hamas. Maybe it'll actually happen this time. We will see if that's actually happening. It will actually true. Let's say, yeah. I mean, more. I see more and more. This is Ayatollah something saying regional attacks will continue, and that strains are showing, even inside the tight body of the judiciary, that there are real challenges inside. This is good. All right, let me remind you that tomorrow I have a guest on the show, Andrew Fox, who is a military expert, somebody that I started following during the Gaza war. He was in Gaza, well, on the Israeli side, but on Gaza, reporting on the so-called genocide and humanitarian crisis and all that stuff. And I thought doing an amazingly objective job. He is, a critic of Israeli army in ways that maybe I disagree with. But he's also got some interesting views about the current campaign about Iran and what it would take in order to get a regime change in Iran. Again, we probably don't agree on stuff, but we agree on a lot, and I respect him because he's been a real objective. He went underground to see what was going on and reported on it objectively. He's also affiliated with a think tank in London that was founded originally by, his name is, I'm blanking on the name, I can see his face. The really good Brit who was very supportive of Israel and also traveled to the Middle East and reported from there. Anyway, the Foreign Policy Institute that had me to speak about Israel a couple of years ago, and he's quite interesting, and he's quite good. And I would check him out tomorrow at what time have I got it planned for? We've got it planned for 2:00 Eastern time tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern time, and one of the things that happened over the last 24 hours is he got invited to Piers Morgan's show. Right? They called him up and they wanted him to come and appear on the show. And he said no. He said he won't, he doesn't respect Piers. Piers is become incredibly biased and anti-Israel and support, has on his show these anti-Semites and these clowns like Dave Smith and things like that. So he basically rejected going on Piers Morgan. So I can now say he's agreed to come on the Yaron Brook Show, but he rejected Piers Morgan. So that's cool. That's cool that he has agreed to come. It looks like, this is bad news. It looks like Witkoff and Kushner are planning to arrive in Israel on Tuesday for talks. That can't be good. Kushner and Witkoff, nothing good can come out of that meeting. All right, let's see. It looks like Israel is expanding its ground operation in southern Lebanon, as I said. Israel continues to just dismantle, destroy the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's headquarters. So now their Air Force headquarters has been destroyed, and basically they have no Air Force. But the Air Force is also in charge on missile and drone launches. So again, destroying command and control makes it difficult for them to launch, makes it up to local commanders. But basically, all of this is to disrupt the ability to coordinate anything. All right. Let's see if we have anything else that's happened in the last few minutes. I'm just scanning the news. But okay, I think that is your update for today on the war. Tomorrow there'll be 2 shows. The first one will be at 2 p.m. East Coast time with Andrew Fox. It should be interesting. Again, you're not going to agree with everything. Yes, it's the Henry Jackson Society, where I spoke a couple of years ago. I spoke about Israel during the Gaza war, and they were very gracious to have me there, and it was a good audience and a good group. And then and it's a think tank that was started by Douglas Murray. Thank you all for helping me with my obvious lack of ability to recall names of anything. Just names, just implode. All right, there'll be 2 shows tomorrow. Again, one with Andrew Fox at 2 p.m. and one will just be a news roundup at probably at 8 p.m. East Coast time, maybe 7 p.m. East Coast time. We'll see. I'll try to do it 7 p.m., but we'll see. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. It's crammed with stuff. So I'll let you know tomorrow the exact timing, but 2 shows tomorrow. All right, and then show on Tuesday, show Wednesday, and then I'm not sure what happens Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Probably a show Thursday from Prospera, which is in Honduras. It's a private city in Honduras. And then Friday, it looks like my schedule in Prospera is such that probably won't be able to do a show setup. But then Saturday, we should be able to do a show. And Sunday, we'll be able to do a show again from Prospera. No show Monday. And then we're back home for a little while. Oh, no, for a couple of weeks, or 2.5 weeks. And I'll be doing shows. All right. What else do we have on the agenda? Yes, we have a discussion of Tucker Carlson. I've got a bunch of videos of Tucker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos of Tucker Carlson. I just want to stay in touch with Tucker and make sure you're all up to date on the latest raving, mad, crazy stuff. And I wouldn't do this if he was indeed a marginal figure that the world had recognized as crazy and insane and had rejected him. But significant numbers of Republicans are willing to vote for Tucker Carlson for president. Somebody's saying he's Tucker Carlson, but he's not anymore. Right now, he's anti Qatar. He is now, I don't know, Tucker Chinalton, China something. I don't know how to say it. But anyway, I don't think he's part of it. He's, some saying he's being kicked out of MAGA. Some would say that he is holding the last bastion of MAGA. It depends how you define MAGA. Trump kicked him out of MAGA. So Trump announced that he is out, that Tucker's out, that Tucker's irrelevant, that Tucker's crazy, that Tucker's nuts. For once, I agree with Trump in terms of Tucker's craziness. Trump rejected him, yet he is still incredibly influential. I don't think his viewership has dropped. Millions of people still watch his stuff. So we keep an eye on what is Tucker Carlson doing, thinking, and what would impact he have on the world if he became, I don't know, if he had influence, let's say. All right, so I've got a few videos. They're short and they're pretty straightforward, and we'll talk a little bit about what he says. But by the way, this video is titled, because you won't see the title on it, Netanyahu unleashes a demonic spirit. I mean, that's the thing with Tucker Carlson. You can't but laugh. The guy's such a frigging idiot. He's so lost it in terms of he's lost the plot. These are the same demons that scratched Tucker, maybe? I don't know. Maybe Netanyahu sent the demons to scratch Tucker Carlson in the middle of the night. Maybe he did. We don't know, but maybe he did. All right, here they are. Here is, let me know if the sound is good and everything and what it's like.
They've been advocating for years that the U.S. government, on behalf of Israel, kill the Ayatollah Khomeini. They got it. Okay, you got what you wanted. Why are you...
Well, Israel killed him. So they've been advocating Israel could kill him himself, and Israel did kill him itself. So it didn't need the United States to kill Khamenei. It's Israeli intelligence. It was Israeli planes. It was Israel that killed him. But this is a part of the conspiracy theory of Israel is driving the United States to do all this.
They got it. Okay, you got what you wanted. Why are you mad? This is the key to their psychology, and it's a spiritual principle. Bloodlust is never sated, just like any other kind of lust. No.
Bloodlust is never sated. Now, note who he's talking about. He's talking about the Jews. And, it doesn't get much more anti-Semitic than this. This is blood libel has always been part of anti-Semitism, at least since probably since the early Middle Ages, where, Jews supposedly drank the blood of Christian babies. They threw babies down wells. There's a famous bloodlust involved in York in England. But there's, this idea of Jews craving the blood of infidels, of non-Jews, has a long history within the anti-Semitic community. Tucker's giving it a modern spin. So Netanyahu, Jews, Israel have a bloodlust that is never sated.
Sated, just like any other kind of lust. Nothing is ever enough. You taste it on your tongue and you want more. Killing.
And the guy's nuts. You taste it on your tongue and you want more.
Is the same. But there's a specific psychology at work here, and it's a graceless, anti-human psychology. The second people like this win, they want to kill the people they vanquished.
The second they win, they want to kill the people they vanquished. What does that even mean? Didn't they kill them in order to get them vanquished? The guy is completely nuts and evil. This is real evil. And who are these people? Who are these people? Well, it's the Jews.
And so you're seeing this crazed effort to purge anyone in the conservative movement or MAGA who had any doubt about the wisdom of this war. They shouldn't just be silenced and deplatformed. They should be arrested. How long before it...
Who's calling for the arrest of people who are against this war? I don't know anybody. Is Netanyahu? Are the Jews? Who's calling for the arrest? And how did he go from bloodlust against Khomeini and against the enemies to be vanquished to influences being deplatformed, being arrested? Who's calling for their arrest? Let me know if you know of any case in which somebody's been called for Tucker Carlson or his ilk to be arrested.
How long before they should be killed? Not long. That's how quickly these things are moving, because a spirit has been unleashed. This is demonic influence, clearly. War brings people like that to the fore, and it makes them more powerful.
So a demonic influence has been unleashed. Soon, Netanyahu will be calling for the assassination of Tucker Carlson and other influences that that are involved. I mean, this is not good. Not good. I mean, he is completely, utterly, unequivocally lost it. Let's take another example. And now he blamed all the issues associated with the powers to be in Israel. He has recently blamed Chabad for this. I don't know if you know Chabad. They have these missionaries all over the world. You can go to it's an island in Thailand, and you will find a Chabad little place with a synagogue. And their primary focus, Chabad, is to try to get secular people like me, Jews who were born Jewish like me, try to bring them back into the religion. And they welcome you and they feed you and they encourage you to pray with them. But they treat you very nicely and they're very tolerant and they're very psychologically manipulative and so on. So I'm not a fan of Chabad, but this is what they do. They kind of missionaries to try to bring Jews back into the religion. Secular Jews, bring them into the religion. That is their focus in life. Tucker now has turned Chabad into another demonic institution dedicated to some vast political agenda and to taking over, I guess, the world ultimately. Another Jewish bloodlust, anti-Semitic nonsense. Chabad has a place here in Puerto Rico. They're everywhere. I mean, they are everywhere. I remember in Koh Samui in Thailand, they were there, and it's hard. I mean, pretty much anywhere you travel, anywhere Israelis travel, secular Israeli travel, there's going to be a Chabad house close by. So here's his latest on Chabad. He's done a number of shows now where he's mentioned Chabad.
So it's a big deal to have a religious war. In some ways, this may turn out to be a religious war. In others, it's just inherently a religious war.
So this is a religious war between the Jews, Israel, the Christians, Trump, and the Muslims. Oh, maybe it is World War III after all. Ooh, big religious wars.
So you should know, and at the center of that conflict is this thing called the Third Temple, which does not yet exist, but some people would like to rebuild. So we did a whole show on this. Seemed important and true. And in the course of that show, we described patches that some soldiers in the Israeli military, the IDF, are wearing.
So let's talk about this Third Temple. They are messianic, nationalistic, radical Israelis, Jews, super religious, who are basically advocating for building a third temple on where the first and second temple existed, which would mean knocking down the big mosque in Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and building a Jewish temple over there. And there is 5-10% of the Israeli population that probably believes in this, but 90% of the Israeli population rejects this. Tucker has made this into, this is what Israel's all about, building the third temple. Demonic forces, probably. And there's some Israeli soldiers that wear this patch representing the third temple, but it's a tiny minority of soldiers, very, very few soldiers. They are the nationalist, radical, crazy religionists. It is not a patch that is authorized by the Israeli military. It is a patch distributed by these radical political forces who are, as I said, really, really, right-wing religious nuts. But for Tucker, this is Israel. This is who they are.
The IDF are wearing that show an image of a temple, the third temple.
Third temple.
And we asked, where did these come from?
Where did they come from?
And it seems like from accounts that we read from those soldiers online that they got these patches somehow from a group called Chabad. In the United States, it's a global group, but it's headquartered here in New York and Brooklyn.
Now, Chabad are not nationalists. Chabad believe in a third temple, but they believe the third temple would be rebuilt by the Messiah. Jesus was not a Messiah. So when the Messiah comes, only then can and will the temple be built. But that has nothing to do with the wars currently being waged because the Messiah is not here. They don't claim Bibi is the Messiah or Trump is the Messiah or anybody is the Messiah. Chabad just has a theoretical advocacy for a third temple when the Messiah comes. And they certainly are not distributing patches right now. These patches are being distributed by, again, the far right in Israel. So this is just, he makes this stuff up. He's just lying.
And we said, and you can check the tape, it was like, Chabad, they seem like really nice people. Met a bunch of people in Chabad over the years. They do a bunch of charitable.
Yeah, some of my best friends are Jews. They seem like nice people, but, they like to drink baby's blood in the night.
Enterprises. But apparently these patches came from Chabad. And Chabad, check their website, is in favor of rebuilding the third temple. Said,
no, they're not. No, they're not.
I will issue a statement disavowing violence against innocents.
So again, complete BS, make stuff up to make Israel look as evil and as horrible as possible. Ooh, that doesn't look right on your screen. Let's fix that. All right, there we go. All right, next. Daily dose of Tucker. I won't do this often.
Betted the decline of Europe very aggressively. Now you're seeing Iranian refugees massing in France to cross the English Channel. This morning to Great Britain. So it's already happening. The migrant flow is already going into Europe. Like, tell me that wasn't the point from.
So the whole point of the war, it turns out, you didn't know this, but it turns out, according to Tucker, the whole point of the war was not to defeat the Iranians. It was to create a refugee crisis. And the Iranians are so fast. They can run, I guess, so fast that they have managed to escape Iran and get to the shores of the British Canal and start crossing that canal just 8 days into the war. I mean, where does he get this bullshit from? It's a complete lie. Again, made up stuff. There's no Iranian refugees amassing on the French coast trying to cross over to England. Now, maybe they're there. Maybe these are Iranian refugees from the Islamic regime, not from the war, that have been in Europe for months, years, running away from the Islamic regimes, from the mullahs, the people Israel and the United States is trying to replace. Maybe they're running away from that. But where does he get this? He makes it up. He completely makes it up. I mean, and unfortunately, again, millions of people listen to this. Millions of people are now inspired by this. Crazy stuff. Okay, two more.
Unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter if they want.
Okay, this is after Trump said he's after unconditional surrender. So for Tucker, unconditional surrender means the troops in the foreign country get to rape your wife and your daughter. It's not how I think of unconditional surrender. I don't know about you. That's not the first thing that comes into my mind. Interesting kind of fantasies Tucker Carlson used to have.
Wife and daughter, if they want. And everyone knows that. And that has been, if there's one consistent lesson of history, it means unconditional surrender means foreign troops get to rape your wife and daughter. Everyone can feel that.
Really? That's what the Americans did in Japan? Americans did in Germany? I'm sure there was some raping going on, but that was not the dominant thing of the unconditional surrender of the Japanese or the Germans. Really? This is the essence of unconditional surrender?
That's like the most atavistic instinct there is. And so to avoid that,
That's the most atavistic instinct there is. I mean, tells you a lot about Tucker and his view of mankind.
people will do anything. And so that's why it requires that level of force to get a population subdued to the point of unconditional surrender. That's why. And so in this case, of course, we don't have the ground force necessary. I don't think Americans would voluntarily participate in it. I just don't think we can do that. It would require weapons of mass destruction. It would require presumably nuclear weapons in order to do that. And let's not lie to ourselves. We're moving toward that.
So when America doesn't use nuclear weapons, and it won't, will Tucker then recognize that he was wrong? Will people call him on the fact that he was wrong? I mean, he's, again, will anybody hold him responsible? No. I mean, he's made so many bad predictions and is being held responsible for none of them. Zero, nada, nothing. All right, last one. This one's funny. So listen to this. I think this is a combination of two different clips from two different opportunities. He's describing Israel. And this is from, I think, yesterday. The first clip is from yesterday. The other clip is from his interview with Huckabee. So it's a week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. This is how he describes Israel.
Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world, nothing.
Israel is one of the single ugliest countries in the world. I mean, what do you even do with that? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Israel, which is one of the single ugliest countries in the world, nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. So
nothing of beauty has been built there since 1948. I mean, his anti-Semitism is oozing out of his skin now. It has corrupted every cell in his brain. The guy's completely detached from any reality. I mean, he's been to Israel. He knows that's not true. And indeed, the second clip shows that he knows he's not true.
Sorry, I've been everywhere in that country, and it's true. And I come to Israel, and the infrastructure, we were flying in, and I said to my buddy, I was like, man, first of all, it looks great. I love the agriculture in Israel because it's beautiful. I love green. I love
it's beautiful
plants.
I remember when it didn't look like that.
Yeah.
First time I came in 53 years ago.
It's great.
It did not look like
It's great. Looks a lot nicer than our country. And it has higher standard of living. It has nicer roads than the United States.
I guess something beautiful was built in Israel after all. Surprising that Tucker would contradict himself that way. Weird. But that is Tucker Carlson, ladies and gentlemen. Please do what you can to avoid him and warn people against him. He is an unmitigated nutcase. Talk about nutcases. Yes, nutcases is the theme today. Alexander Dugin. So over the last couple of days, I've noticed a huge spike in discussions of Alexander Dugin. It seems like an essay was written, The Long Game on the Conservative Right, and not particularly good essay, but an essay about the political Catholic integralists and the evil they represent, which they do, so that's good. A lot of people have been commenting on this essay, and it's been going back and forth. And a big part of this is the idea that Steve Bannon, basically brought Dugin into the American right and is using Duginism, whatever that is, in order to corrupt the American right. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Bannon met Dugin in Rome in 2018 and then started his war room in 2019, by the way, with money and advice from Jeffrey Epstein. It is interesting that Bannon, who had very close relationships with Epstein, and repeatedly emails and advice, and they hung out together, and there are lots of photographs of them together, see no backlash from MAGA over his Epstein connections. I think that's really, really, really bizarre. So much for them caring about so-called pedophilia. And yet Bannon, one of their leaders was one of the closest people to Epstein, and nothing happened. Anyway, Bannon has, arguably, basically, what would you call it, popularized Duginism by taking his postmodernist kind of nonsense out and repackaging it, inconsistent with Duginism in an anti-globalist, civilizational clash, multipolarity, anti-liberalism, as kind of trying to pitch it to the conservative mainstream audience. And he's been doing this now for 8 years. And Bannon is smart. Bannon is smarter than Tucker. He's smarter than a lot of these things, these people, and he's making this whole thing into, Judeo-Christian civilization, globalists are evil, sovereignty, economic nationalism. I've talked about Bannon in the past, way past, and how evil Bannon really is, and how much he is behind much of MAGA, and really the creation of MAGA, the building of MAGA. Remember, he ran Trump's campaign originally in 2016. Well, because of that, Dugin is now back, and I've read you a few of Dugin's kind of tweets over the last few weeks. But Dugin is being discussed all over Twitter, and I thought I'd show you a few videos of Dugin so you get a sense of who this guy is. One of the tweets I saw, a few days ago, and this is relevant because it relates to Tucker Carlson. Dugin is writing, quote, "Tucker Carlson is on the rise. Trump is in the decline. Please, Americans, don't abandon your great course that seems so close to the reality recently. 1 year ago, your conservative revolution was hijacked by pedophiles. Rescue it with so many brave persons you have." He's talking about it's been hijacked by Trump. He's pro Tucker Carlson, without any question. That is Dugin. I thought I'd show you a little bit of stuff. This is actually a clip that I showed you, I don't know, months, years ago. I don't remember when. But this gives you a flavor of Dugin's postmodernism. Dugin is not a...
So we have our special Russian truth that you need to accept.
So could you hear that? Was the volume low? It seemed like the volume was low. Is that just on my side? So notice that we have a special Russian truth that you need to accept. Special Russian truth that you need to accept. He's a right-wing postmodernist.
As something that maybe is not your truth.
Even if it's
maybe it's not your truth, but it's our truth.
not true.
But if the truth is relative, that doesn't mean that the truth doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That means that absolute truth, one for all, doesn't exist.
So he says absolute truth doesn't exist. There's your truth, there's our truth. Truth is relative. That's pure postmodernism. That's pure leftism, if you will. And yet he is the leading figure on the Russian right and a huge influence on elements within the American right.
Take an example. If you watch Russian television today, you'd think that Russia and America were about to go to war.
Yes, but the same if we are examining, if we are reading American press, we have the same impression.
Not really. I've just come back from America. You don't really get that impression. Do you think this is genuinely the case?
No, I think that now the situation is in Syria, for example, United States continuing to be unipolar or continuing to consider itself as unipolar power. It says no more Assad. And Atlanticist powers of the Western Europe repeats after Washington. We doesn't want any more Assad, but Putin.
Assad is gone. This is years ago.
Says stop. Let have Assad, and after that there is our nuclear and military power behind Assad. So, and that is serious. If you are boss, you could not let the other decide, if you really is a boss, decide what to do in your realm of responsibility. It is conflict. And Russia says, no, you are not boss. You are not anymore boss. That's very serious. It is, if we insist on multipolarity, and if...
So this is a big deal. You know, this is the new the new Trump strategy, multipolarity. That is, the United States is boss over Latin America, over the Americas, but Russia's boss over Europe or Asia, China's boss over, Southeast Asia. Each one has a different polarity and morality, who's good and who's bad, what's right and what's wrong, never enters into the calculation. Never enters in the calculation.
Behind us, there is nuclear weapon, and
notice how many times he mentions nuclear weapons. We'll get to that in a minute.
Defend Assad. Assad is principally not because we have so much interest there.
And by the way, they didn't defend Assad when Assad was, deposed by a internal uprising by the Sunni Islamists. Russia did nothing. Impotent. They might want multipolarity, but they're an impotent power except for their nukes.
That is the question of who rules the world. That is the problem. That's possible war. Only war could decide really.
Only war can decide.
Do you think that's really a possibility?
If United States doesn't want to start a war, United States should recognize openly for all humanity, all mankind, that the United States is not anymore unique master. So recognize that there will be no war.
It seems like Trump is doing exactly that, recognizing multipolarity. All right, here's another clip from, I think this is more recent. This is much shorter, so this will be interesting.
And we are going to distribute nuclear weapon to everybody who can use it against the West.
I'll just repeat what he said. We are going to, he's talking about Russia, distributed nuclear weapons to everybody who can use it against the West. Let's go again.
And we are going to distribute nuclear weapon to everybody who can use it against the West. So I think we are going to supply all kind of strategical weapon to all enemies of American hegemony, Western hegemony against NATO, starting from Middle East to the Far East, to North America. We are going to war.
So they're going to war. And the way they're going to go to war is they're going to distribute weapons to everybody who is committed to using it against the West. Pretty amazing. This is a leading influencer, both in Russia and in the United States, among the American right. One more.
The United States is on the edge of the radical collapse. So that is...
We're on the edge of radical collapse. Any day now, we're just going to collapse.
Hyperpower that is collapsing. That is agony of it. And we need to understand that well. We should not be hypnotized by the real situation in the United States. They are in very, very bad situation. And hence, they're radical and extremist actions. So
it's pretty funny coming from a Russian, given where Russia is right now in terms of quality of life, standard of living. Somebody says as bad as any mullah, and he looks like one. Look at that beard.
They have the problem with Epstein elite. They have the problem with economy. They have the great problem with the state of the moral in the United States.
Oh, state of the morals in the United States. As compared to Russia.
Stage of decay. So we need to follow that. We need to understand that. We need to study it. We need to have the correct realistic understanding of what is going on in the United States of
Collapse is not likely anytime soon. Sorry, guys. America's not collapsing anytime soon.
America outside of their propaganda, and maybe outside of our own propaganda. So we have to have a very correct, realistic understanding of American society, because from that depends almost everything in the world. So we need to try to
This is
reach
Bannon's
the people
hero,
of
yes.
real MAGA, or the core MAGA, who share with us our general ideological
You know what he just said? He said the core MAGA would share with us our general ideological and geopolitical views. He shares it with the core of MAGA.
Political, metaphysical vision.
And metaphysical
of
vision.
multipolarity. Because the MAGA accepted multipolarity. Trump has betrayed MAGA and has thrown away multipolarity, has declared the war to multipolarity. So, but not MAGA. So we need to follow people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Andrew Neapolitano.
Okay, so these are the people who are now on Dugin's side. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Unfortunately, he also has Judge Napolitano on his side. And all the people who object to the Iran war. This is post-war. This is post the war starting. So he's trying to bolster the nuts on the American right.
Larry Johnson, Hinkle, Jackson
Hinkle.
And great, absolutely great, Kim.com that we should invite next time for our conference. He is very great. So we need to reach to these non-conformist MAGA people in the United States who have a very similar vision of what are the real priority to save America, to save the world, to save the West.
He's listening to the Nut Squad, but that's MAGA, the Nut Squad.
Immense amount of our friends in the United States of America. MAGA movement has made a rise of them. They help to them to reappear and to become important influencers, important power inside of American society.
All right. Let's see. Well, I mean, I think that's enough. I think you get the picture of who he is and where he's coming from. But this is, Bannon. Bannon is hugely influential, and he is now. I mean, he's all over the place on social media. Dugin is pitching Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and all the nuts of the right. So, it's really, really important that you guys understand and realize how evil these bastards are, how un-American, anti-American MAGA really is, how insane and evil Tucker Carlson has become, Bannon has become. And all the people he listed there, they are creepy and crazy and just truly horrific. Truly horrific. All right, guys, that is going to be the news for today, Sunday, March 8th. We will anti-human, anti-American, anti-freedom, anti-liberty. It's sad that somebody like Judge Napolitano is part of that, but he is part of that like anti-war, anti-American, really part of the Republican Party. That is willing to embrace this crazy MAGA stuff. Not Republican Party, sorry, libertarians. He's part of those crazy libertarians who've taken over the Libertarian Party and hate America and hate American foreign policy and hate Israel and hate Israeli foreign policy. Which is sad because I know Judge Napolitano and like him. It's sad that these are the views that he has come to. All right, we will now go to your questions, and you can ask more questions, and I will answer any question you ask or any comment you submit. We got 250 plus people watching right now. You can do a sticker to support the show and show your appreciation or value for value, trade with me. You can ask a question and I will answer it, or in the super chat, you can make a comment and I will read it, even if it's insulting or whatever it happens to be. That way you get to shape the show. I'll talk about whatever you want me to talk about by asking a question. What else do I want to say? Yes, we have sponsors for the Yaron Brook Show. The Ayn Rand Institute is holding a conference in Porto, Portugal. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's a beautiful city. It's an amazing city. It'll be me and Tautzfani and Anka Gate will be the speakers. But there'll be, I don't know, 50, 80, 100 people, Europeans there. We're going to hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you can come. I hope you can make it. Join us in Porto in April. You can find out information about it on aynrand.org/start here, aynrand.org/start here. And you can get a discount if you sign up. It's 26YBS10. That is a discount code, 26YBS10. Michael Williams runs a website called Defenders of Capitalism, defendersofcapitalism.com. Check it out. It is a great program that I have worked with Michael. I've helped Michael with to develop. It is a real moral, philosophical, economic, political, cultural defense of capitalism. Check it out, defendersofcapitalism.com. Alex Epstein is the world authority of everything energy and power and fossil fuels, and just does amazing work to bring the ideas of liberty to the world of energy. Check him out at alexepstein.substack.com, alexepstein.substack.com. He is worth following. You will learn so much, and you become so much better communicator about things like climate change and environmental policies. All right, now we'll remind you to support the Yaron Brook Show. Check out Patreon, patreon.com. Patreon.com, you can sign up there for a monthly subscription to Yaron Brook Show. At $10 a month, you get an ad-free version of the podcast, audio only, on your feed and Apple Podcasts, whatever it happens to be. You can also, $25, you get to participate in the AMAs by video and ask any question you want. For $250, you get a one-on-one with me once a quarter, and $500, you get a one-on-one with me once a month if you want. All right. Let's see. If you want to ask me a question, for example, on Napolitano, I see people upset by what I said about Napolitano. He is, he's a trad Catholic and a paleocon, but he calls himself a libertarian. He argues that he's a libertarian. Anyway, if you want to ask me a question about Napolitano, there is the super chat. That's what it's there for, to ask me questions. Don't use the chat. Don't use the chat. So if you're upset with what I said, and if you want to challenge me, write whatever you want in the super chat. I will read it and I will try to answer it. Challenge me, but show some respect by putting a couple of dollars behind it. All it takes is a couple of dollars. Doesn't take much more than that. All right, Michael. Thank you, Michael. $50 question. Really appreciate it. When people talk about a successful life being how much you'll be remembered after you die, is this second-handed and mistaken? A truly selfish person doesn't care what happens after they die or what they'll be remembered for. I mean, I think that's right. I don't think a selfish person cares. They want, the impact that they have to exist after they die, if they're having an impact on the world. I think in that sense, they want to have a legacy. They'd like to believe, for example, that the work they've done has made the world a better place. They'd like to believe. But this is all while they're alive. They don't care about what people think of them afterwards. They just care that their productive endeavors if they founded a company, or if they advocating for objectivism, or if they are setting up a big charitable entity that'll work after they die. They would like that to be successful because that's what they did while they were alive. But it's not that what happens afterwards matters to them. It matters to them only in reflecting about the future while you're here, while you're alive. So yes, I think it's second-handed if people obsess about how people will think about them after they're dead. Oh, I didn't thank the stickers. Let me thank the stickers. David just did a sticker. Thank you, David. Let's see. I think Wes was up there. I saw Wes. Yes, Wes, $50. Thank you, Wes. Really appreciate that. David has come in with two 20-pounds stickers. Thank you, David. I really appreciate it. Let's see. We've got Ultima. Thank you, Ultima. And Stephen, thank you. And Darlene, thank you. And Catherine, thank you. And Tony. All right. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the support. Thanks for the stickers. You too can do a sticker. And you don't even have to ask a question. You can support us. You can support us easily that way. Yes. And if you'd like to ask a question, you can ask a question. $2. That's all it costs. $1. I think you can even ask a question for 99 cents. You can also do one for $500. So anywhere in between. Anywhere in between. Go for it. All right, Michael has a few $20 questions. Thank you, Michael. Is saying tomorrow is promised to no one and malevolent universe take? Should we not look at life as a dangerous, unpredictable game? Well, I mean, tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. I don't think that's necessarily malevolent. It could be motivational. It could be you have to act. You have to do stuff. You have to work to get tomorrow. So it depends on in the spirit in which it is said. I don't think we should look at life as dangerous, unpredictable game, but we should look at life as you're not going to gain anything without the thought and effort that's required to gain it. Right? You gotta work at making the future what you want it to be. It won't just happen. The future indeed is not promised to anybody, because that's to be promised would be passive, and to gain is active. Michael says, I'm glad the Iranian regime is coming to an end. I hope it is. But what exactly are Trump's motivation? He thinks destroying Iran will bring regional peace and give him a Nobel Peace Prize? Maybe, but I don't know what Trump's motivations are. It could be that he just likes using military power because he's a thug, and thugs like power. They like, oh, they got big bombs. Let's drop some big bombs. Isn't that cool? I think he likes that. I think it inspires him. He lights up when he thinks about the operation in Venezuela, or when he killed Soleimani in his first term. And he likes the use of physical force because he's a thuggish mentality, a thuggish human being. So, but I don't know. I don't know what exactly motivates him here. I do think he wants the oil. I do think he wants control. But maybe there's some strategy behind this in terms of China. I don't think he likes the fact that the Iranians don't do what he tells them to do. Like they're independent. They were not falling into place when he said they should. I think it's motivations like that. I think it's kind of personal motivations more than it is big, geopolitical strategy. People are not influenced by the people whose name they know. This is to Brian's point about Dugin, right? He says, I will go ask 50 Trump voters, 0 will know Dugin. That's true. They don't need to know Dugin, but they all know Bannon. Bannon's influenced by Dugin. And Bannon transmits Dugin's ideas into the culture. That's how ideas are transmitted. So if you ask people on the left, do they know Immanuel Kant? Or, what can they cite Kant? Or can they cite Hegel? Or could they cite even Foucault? Or any of the intellectuals that have influenced everything that the left stands for? They probably can't. But they've got translators. These people are being influential on all the intellectuals on the left, and they transmit it. So you get these thinkers, and then you've got whole transmission belts. And the transmission belts don't work as Dugin says. No, they just translate Dugin's stuff into English relevant to the people hearing it, and that's how the influence works. It's the same as me trying to influence people about Ayn Rand, but I don't mention Ayn Rand that often. So Brian, it's not how ideas work. It's not how ideas are transmitted. It's not how influence works. All right. And again, if you want to ask more questions, you're free to do so on the Super Chat. Michael, is Trump the only president in recent history not afraid to go against the intellectuals? I think he is. He's obviously evil, but other presidents would never invert the status quo like this. They want some credibility from the ivory tower. I think that's right. I think Trump doesn't care what the intellectuals think of him. He doesn't, and the whole basis of MAGA is a rejection of authority, the rejection of the intellectual class, the rejection of elites. And so he has runway from his followers. And he also has, I think, a belief that the intellectuals don't matter. And that allows him to do whatever he feels like doing and reject, the intellectual backlash. I also think that Trump is the only president who's not driven by a view of altruism. He rejects the idea of altruism, at least certainly in international affairs, not in favor of some kind of self-interested egoism, but in favor of whatever Trump feels like. But he rejects altruism. And therefore morality has no meaning to him, because to him morality equals altruism, and he's rejected that. But the alternative is, I think, the way he did business, lying, cheating, whatever it takes in order to get what you want. He truly believes that it's okay to do whatever it takes, lie, cheat, steal, shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, in order to get what you want, as long as you can get away with it. And as president, he feels like he can get away with pretty much anything. But the explicit altruism is not there. I mean, he's shaped by altruism, but through its rejection. And what he is a narcissist, but not a egoist in any kind of way, not selfish in any kind of way, not a selfish, properly understood. Okay, Molten Splendor, $50. Thank you, Molten Splendor. Really appreciate the support. Yesterday, I was thrilled that you were back. Today, I'm happy you are here. Been listening to podcasts of speeches you made 7 years ago about the Middle East and terrorism, and love your unwavering commitment to reason, understanding, of freedom. Thank you. I mean, the reality is that if you go and look at speeches I made on the Middle East and terrorism that I made 20 years ago, maybe they only are up on YouTube 7 or 8 years, but some of the speeches I made them 20 years ago. And how many of the things that I said would happen have happened. I'm even amazed at how clearly, how predictive I was, and how right I've been so many different times on this issue, going back to 9/11. I mean, pretty much everything I predicted would happen, given the U.S.'s pathetic response to 9/11, has indeed happened. Some of my speeches back then are pretty good. You should check them out. Thank you, Molten Splendor. Really appreciate the support and the compliment. Lyman says, I recently watched Rick Steves' Iran show. I don't know Rick Steve. From 2009, followed by a history of Unfleek. I don't know what that is. Documentary about the brutal execution of Khomeini's early regime. What different presentations of the same place? I don't know either one of those, so I can't really comment. But yeah, I mean, Khomeini was unbelievably brutal. I mean, he came to power with the help of the left. He basically seduced the left to support him, and under the assumption that he would implement kind of a socialist policy, and that he was a leftist. He used a lot of Marxist terminology in his sermons that were being distributed in Iran from Paris, where he was in exile. So he really cultivated the left, and they helped him win the revolution. And then he killed them all. He executed them all because he was never a leftist. He was never interested in the left. And just like right now the left is helping Hamas and helping Hezbollah and helping the Iranians on a global scale in demonstrations and stuff like that. But if the Hamasniks or the Islamists ever got to power, they would kill all these gays, queers for Palestine or whatever. They would immediately execute them, just as Ayatollah Khomeini did. So this is not theoretical. We've got an actual sample of what actually happens. Thank you, Lyron. Also, thank you. Thank you, Jack, for the sticker. Thank you, Kim, for the sticker. Really appreciate it. Newly Dan, shout out to my old neighbor, Stuart, who introduced me to Atlas Shrugged, The Fountainhead, and your channel. Thank you, Stuart, for introducing Newly Dan to Ayn Rand and to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Newly Dan. Nature Observer, I never thought I would see the day when Tucker and Dugin would actually rise so far that it seems Trump looks like the voice of reason. Yeah, isn't that pretty stunning and scary? Absolutely. No, you really showed how that gremlin Tucker Carlson hates Israel. He is certifiably crazy. Yes, and he's now certifiably anti-Semitic. It's not just hatred of Israel. He is an anti-Semite. I mean, this blood libel, that is typical of anti-Semites, and he is probably him and Candace are the leaders of the new right anti-Semitic movement. And it is ugly. It is ugly. And it is spreading among Republicans all over the place. Jacob says, please invite Reza Pahlavi. Would be great. Talk Iran history, situation, his views on capitalism, to keep you in mind as a free market advisor. That's a good idea. I will. As I said, I had a friend, an objectivist friend, years ago who I think for a number of years advised Pahlavi and I think helped him write a constitution and was intimately involved in educating Pahlavi on capitalism and on Ayn Rand. And it'd be interesting to see to what extent that stuck. Oh, let me just remind you, like the show before you leave. It's really, really helpful on the algorithm. So please like the show. Also, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Subscribe, you'll it doesn't cost anything. And you'll find out when I go live, and you don't have to listen when you don't want to, but you find out at least when shows are posted and when stuff goes live. So please like the show before you leave. Stephen, thanks for the show. I appreciate it, Stephen. Paul, Gaza has been out of the news. What's happening there? Any news from the West Bank problems? Nothing much from Gaza. Nothing as far as I know. I mean, Israel is still securing the beyond the yellow line. Once in a while, Hamas sends some people to try to do an attack against the Israeli soldiers, and they're killed. In terms of the West Bank, there's still problems over there. Primarily settlers still attacking Palestinians. There was just another brutal attack where some Palestinians were killed. This has to be resolved. The rule of law has to apply. Otherwise, Israel loses its moral status as the good guys. So they better shape up. They better shape up soon. it will be interesting. Yeah, so it is really horrific what's going on in the West Bank, both in terms of the Palestinians and in terms of the right-wing fanatics, in the settlers movement. Roman, is issuing treasuries a proper function of government? If governments are not allowed to own property, how should the branches of government function? Yes, I mean, you could imagine the government borrowing money at times of war, or there's a pandemic or something that requires government action. Rare, but where they don't have enough tax revenue to cover it, and yet it is supported by people, so they're willing to buy bonds that are ultimately paid back through tax revenue. They couldn't, there'd have to be something in the Constitution. They can't carry a deficit for a long time. They can't carry debt for a long time. They have to pay it back within a reasonable amount of time. But yes, I think issuing treasuries is a proper function of government. Not the way they do it today, which is funding a permanent deficit and permanent debt, but temporarily, yes. If governments are not allowed to own property, how should the branches of government function? I mean, you'd have to think about what that means, not to own property. They would lease buildings. They still could write contracts, but they couldn't own significant tranches of land and property around the country. Whether they lease the buildings or own the buildings should be a side issue. I think leasing is better. Government shouldn't own it's the representative of the people. It's not. It should not own independent of that. Like number 6129, are you aware enough of everything behind the scenes to assert without question that Trump has no strategy? Could that be tied to your distrust of him? I see how he behaves. I see what he says. And I have some insight into what's going on behind the scenes. I won't give you my source for that. As I said yesterday, I have from a reliable source who is close to the administration that they had no strategy around the Straits of Hormuz. That's all I can say. So, but I mean, I've watched Trump for 12 years now. I've been a close Trump observer since 2015. And he's not a strategist. And the people around him, at the top level around him, are not strategists. Maybe they're layer below, they're people who have a strategy. But he and Hegseth and people like that. Vance is a strategist, but I don't think he's being considered right now. It's hard to tell what Rubio is or is not. But maybe deeper within the Defense Department, there are people who have strategies. But Trump does not. Michael, the Constitution is not an objectivist document. It should be cited. It should not be cited as the standard. Well, not as the standard of truth or the standard, a philosophical standard, but should be cited as the standard for the functioning of the American government. It is the governing document of the American system. So it should be cited. And I'm glad anytime the Supreme Court rules that something the government is doing is unconstitutional. I happen to believe 80% or more, or 90% of what the government's doing unconstitutional. But, I'll take what I can get from the Supreme Court. Lawsome Logic, thanks for the insights you bring you on with more support. How could you expand your reach? I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, I don't run any ads right now, like on social media. I don't do any advertising. I could do that. I could hire a producer, which would allow me to devote less time to the technical sides of the show and more time to, content. I could branch out and indeed have more content. I could have more shows. I could do shows with other people. I've been thinking about, should I do a show with Nikos, just me and Nikos, an hour a week, 2 hours a week, or whatever, doing a show. I could do shows like that with other people, but I need a producer to be able to streamline everything that I do, and that would require funds. What else would I do? I mean, ultimately, if I had real money, then we could We could sponsor debates. We could actually go out there and do stuff beyond the show itself that would attract attention. I could hire a PR firm, although I haven't had a lot of success with PR firms in the past, but we could try again, hire a PR firm to try to, get the message out there to more channels, whether podcast, TV shows, radio shows, whatever, things like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that could be done, but it requires significant resources. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm just looking at the chat. It's a little ridiculous to say I'm biased because I dislike Trump. Assuming that assumes it's insulting and stupid, really, because I dislike Trump for a reason. Like, I dislike Trump. I can give you, and I have over the years, given you 1,000 reasons to dislike Trump. So my dislike Trump is not some emotional response that comes from nowhere. It's based on his actions and his speeches, on what he says and what he does. And therefore, my anti-Trump bias is based on facts and reality. Now, you want to argue with me about that, then argue about facts and reality. But to say, oh, well, you dislike Trump, so you're biased against him, is stupid. It's just dumb. Because I dislike Trump because of reasons I have. So I'm biased against Trump because he's a bad guy, because he's done bad things, because he said stupid stuff, because I have no respect for his mind, because of what he's said and what he's done. But that's why I'm biased against him. All right. Adam, thanks for the information and distraction during my self-imposed half marathon on a nice day. Oh, nice run. Half marathon is not easy. Good for you. Thanks, Adam. Michael, why can't people see cause and effect relationships? Because they're hard and they require real thinking. And as we discussed when we discussed Ayn Rand's The Missing Link, most people don't do the kind of work that is required for real thinking, for deep thinking, for cause and effect is challenging. It requires conceptual ability, which most people just don't have or don't use, put it that way. Paul, if Russia and China support Iran, should they be attacked? No, I mean, you don't attack China or Russia. They have nukes. So you've got to be very careful in how you deal with Russia and China. So it's challenging. I mean, somebody says, wars are not this successful when there's no strategy. Come on, give me a break. I mean, again, that's so stupid, right? The war strategy, what to attack, which targets to focus on, yeah, that's the strategy designed by the Pentagon, not by Trump. It's designed by military planners. We have very, very, very competent military planners. We have really smart people designing what targets should be attacked and how to do it and how to coordinate it all. And by the way, a lot of that is helped along by the Israelis, who do have a strategy around this war. I mean, big strategy. We're not talking about Trump not having a strategy. You're talking about the meta strategy. And he doesn't. Is this war about regime change? Maybe. Is this war about oil? Maybe. Is this war about the missiles and the nukes? Maybe. Do we really know? What is the meta strategy? I mean, the planning of actually taking out Iran, yeah, sure, there's a lot of strategic thinking going there. I have a lot of respect for the generals who actually do that work. And I said, in the lower levels of the Pentagon, there are really, really good people who know what they're doing and who strategized around this war. They still missed the blocking of the Straits of Hormuz that is going to come back and bite them. I mean, the fact that they went into this war without thinking about how to deal with the Strait of Hormuz suggests that as good of a strategist they are, something is really lacking. Because I identified that as a problem months ago. Anyway, Harrison, thanks for the show. Thanks, Harrison. Appreciate it. Harrison says, how much would a song review cost? That's $100 for a song. Linda, did you finish Quint Coder's book, Genesis? What an ending, right? Yeah, I'm still struggling with that. But I liked it, and I talked about it on a show when I finished it. So I gave it a positive review. I thought it was good. Alex's thought, when OpenAI Department of War contract show, for my uses, OpenAI models are better than Claude, but not sure how to weigh against long-term effects of supporting OI's behavior. I mean, you should use the OI that is most practical for you right now, because it's hard to tell how this evolves into the future, right? It's hard to tell. But yeah, supposedly the OpenAI Department of War contract shows that the Department of War can basically override OpenAI in making decisions on how to use the AI that is not, that OpenAI basically did not constrain them in any way. Roland says, I've been to Koh Samui, didn't run into Chabad, though there were lots of Hebrew-speaking tourists, among others, a very international place. Yeah, but pretty much everywhere where you're going to have Hebrew-speaking tourists, you will have a Chabad. It's pretty much guaranteed. And the Chabad was in the one town that is in Koh Samui, on the, what is it, I think, eastern side of the island. Brian, test chat. I am being prevented from posting a movie recommendation. It has an innocuous name, so I'm wondering if the film itself is being blocked. I don't know. That's weird. You might want to misspell the name and see if you can get it to post that way. Ryan, imagine portraying the entire USA based on the nuttiest 5% of the population. How Tucker does with Israel. We would look like a nation of psychopaths, especially with people like Tucker in that 5%. Absolutely. Tucker Carlson, yeah, I mean, and now he's also an Islamist apologist of Islam. Jesper, YBS withdrawals are finally healing. I'm glad, and there will be more shows to come. Yaron, thanks for exposing me to the antithesis of Rand, and since she is correct, ideas move history, we need to pay attention to him. Yes, we need to pay attention to anybody who's spouting ideas, because they're the ones who actually move history. Roman, what's the problem with Rothbard Mises Institute? Oh, God. Well, first of all, it's the Rothbard Institute. It's not that, I mean, I wouldn't insult von Mises in giving him the name. I mean, the problem is that they are anarchists. Thus, they are, irrational and destructive. Anarchy is a destructive ideology that ultimately is a violent ideology, an ideology of violence that leads to authoritarianism, inevitably. So anarchy ultimately equals authoritarianism. If you want to see how I think about this, check out my debate with Brian Kaplan. You can also check out the essay that Don Watkins and I wrote about anarcho-capitalism for Brian Kaplan's blog, but it's also on Don Watkins' Substack. So you can find it. It's pretty easy to find. The evils of anarchy and anarcho-capitalism, and that's the problem with Rothbard Mises Institute. And then because they're anarchists, or they are, in addition to being anarchists, and because they're anarchists, I guess they're related, they're also statists, which is stunning, right? So they want to block immigration, even in the United States. They want to, they often support racist causes. They support the South. They have a certain part of the institute is sympathetic to the South in the Civil War. What else do I have against them? And then they're anti-war. They think 9/11 was America's fault. Indeed, every crisis in history was America's fault. I mean, Rothbard used to toast every time an American pilot was shot down in Vietnam War. He used to toast that and celebrate it. I mean, that is pretty disgusting. And they They support ICE. I mean, it's an absurd amalgamation of crazy political ideas that only anarchists could come up with. And in that sense, yeah, they're really, really, really bad. Mike, on Friday's All-In podcast, Undersecretary of War Emile Michel stated that the operation is aimed at disarming the regime, not achieving regime change. So you disarm the regime. That can be, again, that's not a strategy. What happens when the war is over and you have the same regime there and they arm themselves again? Do you go in and disarm them again? That's a silly strategy, that just doesn't make any sense. Again, bad strategy. Do I have a better plan, a better strategy for Iran than the Pentagon? Yeah, absolutely. I had a better plan for taking Gaza than the Israeli military executed on. I had a better plan for a lot of things. The reality is, and it's all panned out. I mean, all the flaws I saw in the Israeli plan played out. And we'll see what happens with the Iranian. But that's silly to disarm the regime without having more than just disarming them, because any regime can rearm, particularly when you have oil money. So it would be okay to say, okay, disarm the regime and prevent them from ever selling any oil in the future. Okay, then they won't have the money to rearm. But just disarming the regime is not strategy. It's stupidity. I articulated my entire plan for Hormuz yesterday in great detail. So you can check it out. When did you meet Napolitano? Paleo-conism versus objectivism. I met Napolitano several times. I had dinner with Napolitano more than once. We had dinner at a very nice restaurant in New York. The one time I remember, but we might have had dinner a second time. I used to be in a show a lot. So you remember when he had the Fox on Fox Business, I think it was. He had a daily show, a weekly show. I can't remember anymore. But I used to be a regular guest on a show. I used to go to New York and appear in a show. Did I ever do it via satellite? I can't remember. But I certainly was in studio with him. We also met at a number of conferences. We had a lot of overlapping relationships. Yeah. I mentioned Trump's insurance plan way before yesterday. I knew it the day he announced it, so don't give me that bullshit. And then, my plan was detailed and articulate and way beyond anything that they have going for them right now. So, and again, my inside sources of the Trump administration tell me they had no plan until they started the war, and then they came up with this insurance thing, but the insurance thing won't work because they don't have enough money, and they don't really want to escort the ships because that exposes American ships to Iranian land. They don't have a plan. They don't. I do. Articulated in great detail yesterday. You listened, you didn't get it, you don't agree with it because you're biased. You see, you love Trump so much that you can't accept that somebody might have an idea that Trump hasn't already come up with, so you immediately shut off your mind to that idea. You can't even hear my good ideas because they're not Trump ideas, and you resent my ideas because I'm anti-Trump, and you say, tell China and Japan to move their ships to the Straits. But that'll take months. That's interesting because I did mention yesterday, and you can check it out. Maybe you can go to ChatGPT and ask it. China has, 2 ships in the Gulf, not in the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, but in the Arabian Sea. And Japan has at least 1 ship. China has 1 big reconnaissance ship, but it has 2, I think, destroyer-type ships in the Arabian Sea, and Japan has 1. And they have them there permanently because they have an interest in securing. Plus, China has a big part of their fleet, or a significant number of ships, near the Malacca Straits, which are in Singapore, which is not that far. They could get them there fairly quickly. I actually know what I'm talking about, Brian. You're just an idiot. Sorry. I don't care if you voted for Trump or not. You can't hear because you don't want to accept that somebody might have ideas better than Trump's or might think that Trump is a buffoon who doesn't have a strategy, and he doesn't. Anyway, I don't know why I'm engaged with Brian. I need to ignore him. Okay, Harrison, $100. Thank you, Harrison. I appreciate it. All right, this is all the Super Chat I can do for a while. Please let us know what you think of The Sky Is Ours. Okay, so this is, I guess, a song review. Please let us know what you think of The Sky Is Ours by Feed Rate Command, lyrics, theme, melody, style, which has been available for a while now. It's on the album Built, Not Granted on Spotify and YouTube. Okay, I'll check it out on YouTube because I don't do Spotify. But thank you. All right, that is a song review that I will get to. All right, we got a few more questions and we'll call it a day. Roman, if you have Reza Pahlavi on, introduce him to free banking, please. Getting rid of central banking is so important to heal the world. Yeah, but it's so radical, I don't expect anybody to take it seriously. I mean, politically, it's so radical. Harrison, what single theme of value would you inject directly into the veins of our culture if you could? For example, through music. I mean, basically self-interest and pride in oneself and the attainment of values, the pursuit of values and the importance of that, and anti-self-sacrifice, but with a positive anecdote, the positive anecdote being, a rational selfishness. Brian, I recommend an unauthorized 2025 Iranian film. It was just an accident on Netflix. Imprisoned and tortured years earlier, the film's characters may have by chance now located their tormentor. Interesting. All right. I'm going to copy paste this and check it out. Thank you, Brian. All right. So the movie is called I Was Just an Accident. And Stephen asks, what did you think of My Cousin Vinny? Fun. A fun movie. I saw it years ago. It was fun. There's some smarts to it, but mainly just a fun movie. Funny, entertaining, and positive overall. Is it a problem? Brian, you really should, stop having opinions about things you don't know anything about. Really. Is it a problem you have, you have YouTube takes 30% of your Super Chat money? Is it a problem for you that YouTube takes 30% of Super Chat money? I mean, the benefit I get from YouTube is worth many, it's worth 6 figures, right? So I can't really complain. I mean, it would be nice if they didn't take 30%, or if they took something less than 30%. But I get so much benefit from YouTube that I'm certainly not going to complain about them taking 30%. That's their charge. It's documented. I use their platform. They get to decide how much to charge for the platform. So I am happy to do it, even if I prefer doing a lower number. Jose, just came back from Europe. Seeing beautiful architecture is so joyful. What are your views on seeing beauty through architecture from a societal viewpoint? Also, sharing joy. Michelangelo's, David, absolutely. I mean, beautiful architecture enhances one's life. It everything, it inspires. I think makes your soul. It just makes life enjoyable, and it inspires, and it allows you to surround yourself with beauty, not just inside your house but also outside. Now, I like European architecture, but most of it is old. I actually prefer modern architecture. I particularly like cities that blend good modern architecture with the old architecture. That is, I like Copenhagen. I think does a really good job of that, of a really nice modern architecture, homes you'd want to live in, and a blending of that into the older architecture. I like skyscrapers and modern skyscrapers, particularly if you go to Shanghai or you go to Hong Kong or Singapore. And some buildings you see in the United States, although the United States is lagging in terms of architectural ambition when it comes to modern stuff. But yeah, what I don't like, sadly, is the lack of imagination in particularly building American neighborhoods where McMansions, you see the same house over and over and over again. I think it dulls the mind. I think suburban America is very, particularly, I'd say, in the last few years, is very uninspiring and lacks beauty, and is dull, and in that sense dulls the soul. Dulls the soul. All right, guys. Thank you. By the way, what I said was the Pentagon had no strategy for the Straits of Hormuz going into the war. I stand by that. Whether they develop a strategy over the next few days, weeks, I don't know. Hopefully they will. But they had no strategy going into the war. I have that from a reliable source. All right. Thank you, guys. I will see you tomorrow again for a couple of shows. We've got a Jose says, love Barcelona. Crazy buildings of many different kinds. Thanks for your answer. Love the show. Yeah, Barcelona's beautiful. Some of the buildings are crazy. I don't know that I want to live with them in my sight all the time. What was the name of the architect, the crazy architect in Barcelona, whose name I forget right now. Gaudi, right? His buildings are crazy, but I don't know that I'd want to have them in front of my face all day. But Barcelona is a very, very pleasant, very, very nice city, and I really enjoyed it. All right, guys, I see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got an interview with Andrew Fox, and we have a news show. Both of those tomorrow. Have a great rest of your weekend, and have a great week before you. And I'll see you there. Bye, everybody.